Welcome to Beautiful Creation. I'm Tina Jackson, and with me today, I have a special guest. And I want to tell you a little bit about her because she is awesome. She's a speaker, a teacher, a pastor, an author, a counselor, a health coach, and a leader of programs and ministries and support groups for depression, anxiety, self-worth, addictions, abuse, and dysfunctional families issues, as she helps counsel individuals and even couples. And with that, I'd like to introduce to you Lillian Easterly Smith from Life Care Christian Center. Thank you so much, Lillian, for joining us today and being able to hopefully share your ministry that so many people need to be a part of, especially for the women's portion. And I am so thankful. I know I've been on 2 of your retreats, life-changing retreats. So thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction. And I always like to say, you can tell I like variety.
Yes, yes, yes.
Kind of evolved over the years, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Your program is a spirit, soul, and body program because you also you're really it seems the root of it is helping to heal the internal, and then of course being a life coach with the health and nutrition, the body form, and you have a Christian the basis of it is a lot of Christianity of the Word of God. So you get all the dynamics of spirit, soul, and body. It's just fabulous. So how did this come about into your life? Like what was there a God dream or vision, or how did this sort of kind of just get plopped into your lap that this is your calling?
Well, it definitely was a process. And of course, I started out on my own personal healing journey and walk with the Lord. And I was one hot mess. So God basically spoke to me, I would say, probably about a year into my relationship with him. And I was actually at that time going to some support group ministries myself. And he spoke to me and he said, one day you're going to be helping hurting people. And I'm like, okay. And of course, immediately after that, he said, but we've got some work to do on you first. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Because like I said, I was a mess. So I probably stayed actually working with that organization that I received healing from. It was another nonprofit, and they were really focusing a lot on like the 12-step program. And part of what I've come to realize as I was thinking about, what to share and just our time that we were going to have here together today, I was thinking about how a lot of what has evolved in life care overall, and then the ministries prior to life care, they were all kind of born out of frustration, to be honest with you. So part of what I was seeing as I was going through my own healing and my own personal growth, as I looked around me and I saw other believers in the church, like in Bible studies and Sunday school classes that I was involved in at the time, there was a frustration that just began to stir in me. And I thought, wow, God has so much more for these people than what they're experiencing. I could tell it. I could see that there was a lot of mask wearing. I could see, because I really believe that God gave me spiritual eyes to see what was going on, a little bit deeper beyond the surface of the individuals that I was encountering. And I thought, wow, there's a lot here, and God wants so much more for his people. And so through that, because I was already involved in this organization, I started stepping into more ministry roles. And the beautiful thing is, God brought people into my life that could really draw the leadership out of me and draw my spiritual gifts out, because I really didn't have anyone in my family of origin per se that had really nurtured me in any of those areas ever. In fact, growing up, I mean, there were never any discussions about going to college or pursuing any kind of career, and definitely not ministry, because I did not grow up in a household where they were following the Lord. I mean, it was totally dysfunctional and full of a lot of hurt and pain, which was part of the journey that I was on, was digging deep and really healing from those things and learning how to forgive from my heart and not just have lip service, with it. So as I grew, healed, it's like I wanted to give back. And so people were drawing this out of me. So I stepped into all these different roles, started out with some baby steps, just sharing my story. And then that led to, greater things. And then, God made sure that He sent people along my way, along my path, that basically encouraged me to go to school. You ever thought about pursuing a counseling degree? I really see some of these gifts in you. Or would you maybe be interested maybe in doing something along the lines of, seminary or Bible college? And so, as God would have it, that was the next step. And it was wonderful. I had the support of my mentors and the church that I was attending at the time. So I didn't stop doing ministry, however. I mean, God made that clear, because I was, again, I'm watching people around me, and I'm going back to school, and I'm with all these young people, and they're all taking 5, 6 classes at a time. Got to hurry up, hurry up, hurry up and get done. I got to, get to my goals. And every time that I wanted to put it on fast forward, God was like, no, I want you to take your time, learn, apply, and then use it right now during, in the ministry that I've called you to. And that's what I did. And it was wonderful.
Yes.
So that was just the start. And then after I got my degree, it was like, okay, now what? What do you want me to do? And by that time, I had already developed a huge ministry in the church that I was attending. It was a mega church in Michigan.
Okay.
And I was there for probably about 11 years. And I ended up on staff for about 7.5 of those years. But I had already launched a care ministries. And so it was like, okay, we need people to be equipped to come alongside others and to dig deep and to work on these issues of the heart so that they can have the abundant life Jesus said. Again, remember how I said my ministry has kind of evolved over the years because of my frustration? Again, it was like, okay, what can we do and how can we help people to experience more and to experience what Jesus said we could have? I mean, that was a scripture I kept going back to. He says, I have come that they might have life to the full, or have, abundant life. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm not seeing it. There's not very many people, or a small percentage that really are. And then, of course, as time has gone on over the years, we're seeing more and more brokenness, more and more dysfunction, more and more addictions, and, a variety of different addictions. And I always say, even on the weekends, and you've probably heard me say this, that, we're all sin addicts. We are. We try to fill voids. We try to pursue pleasure. That's part of our flesh. And then we become addicted to things. You could be addicted to relationships, or even religion, works and all of that. So again, it was like, okay, we have got to do something. We can do better than what we're doing. So that's how I launched this ministry at this church. And by the time God moved me from that place into launching what we currently have, which is Life Care Christian Center, I think we had probably at least 40 groups that were meeting regularly. There were like over 500 people that were getting plugged in and getting help. I had trained some lay counselors, and obviously all of this was after graduating from college, having conversations with the leadership at the church and saying, hey, I believe that there's more that I can do if you would like me to.
Right.
And they gave me the green light, and
Mhm.
then they hired me. And
Mhm.
before you knew it, we had this, wonderful ministry that was developed for people to come to. And they were coming from everywhere. It wasn't
Yeah.
from just within the four walls of that church. In fact, what I saw, and maybe you've experienced this as well, um, a lot of times people don't want to go to their own home church. Now,
Yeah.
that's sad, but they don't feel safe to do that. And I'm not saying that
Mhm.
not all, Christian communities or not all churches aren't safe, because some of them are.
Right.
But if you're going to take a risk,
Right.
a lot of times you would rather take the risk where nobody's going to know you, maybe,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or there's less opportunity for that. So
Right.
that's why in the beginning, we
Mhm.
saw this influx of
Mhm.
believers that were coming from all over the community and all different churches. And
Yeah.
some of them had walked away from the church. Well,
Right.
and when they started coming and, feeling safe and working through their issues, eventually they were able to go back to church and
Absolutely.
get plugged in with other believers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was there, sometimes it was other churches. And so we would just help them to get into community.
Right. Yeah, that would do definitely a huge thing there, because if they're coming in from church wounds and hurts, they don't want to discuss it with the people, and they probably can't, especially, the what happens internally. But yeah, you do really, I just love that the ministry just digs deep to the root hurt and is able to bring that to the Lord and be able to get that, healed. I mean, within just a weekend, because I've gone to a couple of the women's retreats, it's just as a weekend long, 2 nights. Um, the transformation of just seeing the people's countenance, even
Mhm.
myself, they walk in, they're just so downtrodden. There's just such a heaviness on them. And then going through the exercises and your program, it's an intensive program, by the way, if anybody is interested, which I highly recommend. I mean, it is nonstop throughout the day,
Yeah,
from early in the morning till late at night. And there's, just you have your break times there, but it's packed and it's great. And the healing continents after on Sunday, when you gather together, I'm almost in tears just thinking about it, seeing that so many people get set free and they
yeah,
are so radically changed, even like myself. Like I've said so many times, and I will keep on saying that these are such great programs. And I actually pray that, eventually, and I don't know your vision yet, that there'll be branches of it that are able to go out, nationally, internationally, to, have this type of program to just help people, get set free of the bitterness, rage, anger, resentment, abuse. Just some of the stories are just heart wrenching. But
yeah.
Jesus heals it all. Amen.
Yes, he does. And we just have to create the environment.
Hmm.
And then if you have willing people that come,
Hmm.
he shows up and he does the work. And I'm reminded over and over and over again, the only one that can truly change a life is Jesus.
Hmm.
That's the truth.
Right.
Now, what is our part to play in that? So, our part to play in that is to have these weekends where people can come away, not be distracted. They can focus on Him
Hmm.
and focus on themselves and what's going on inside of them so
Hmm.
that they can tend to those things, whether it is sin that needs to be exposed and dealt with, or more often than not, it's wounds that need to be healed, and it's lies that they believe that need to be changed. And the Bible is very clear about that. We are transformed by the renewing of our mind. So we set these weekends up in such a way that your mind can be renewed. And then ultimately, when you leave, you
Hmm.
are transformed and you've had an encounter, a supernatural encounter with Jesus. And I say all the time, that I say it on the weekends and I say it all the time with any chance that I get, that I do believe God still works supernaturally in people's lives. He heals in power. and in process. So we need both. So a lot of our Bible studies and support group ministries, we need those. But that's kind of like the process, like, week to week, day to day, learning, applying, having accountability, doing that, and then coming away and giving God the opportunity to work in power. And then go back, okay, continue process. So, and again, going back to my own personal journey, that was part of what I did. The organization that I was involved in or involved with originally, they had retreats, women's retreats, probably about every 6 months, different than what we do, but I saw the value. I saw how it changed me, how I was impacted, and how it really did put some things on fast forward for me. If I came away for a weekend and went deep and let God do a work in me, it made the rest of it a little bit easier, the process a little bit easier. And I made greater progress, I believe, because I took the time to do that. So because I value it, because of my own personal experience, it's like, we have to do these. And so over time, we've developed different weekends. There are different topics.
Talk about the different topics and stuff and the different retreats that you have. I know people are sitting at the edge of their seat saying, where are you having these at? Where?
Yeah.
You tell us some information. So,
yes. And I love that you also said, I don't know what your vision is, but part of our vision is to be able to offer these in other states and other locations, and taking a team of people and also training others that are there and other churches and ministries and making it happen. So we started out with just one theme. So we would do a great exchange. So the great exchange basically is based in scripture. So if you look up Isaiah 61, you will see what the focus is for that particular weekend. And typically that weekend is a full weekend. That's Friday night, all day Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon. And like you said, people come in Friday night and you're like, oh, they look downcast, and honestly, yes,
like it's that bad.
Tina, we have had people stand up Sunday afternoon and admit that. And they have said out loud, this was the last thing I was going to try. I was feeling hopeless and I was ready to end it. And I came to this weekend and now I'm leaving with hope. I'm leaving with joy. I'm leaving with peace. And I'm like, wow, right? And yes, you could literally see it. The transformation was visible. So the Great Exchange 1, that's a full weekend. So the Isaiah 61, those are the exchanges. We give God this, he gives us this. So we're cooperating with him, and letting him do that work. And then we will take the women through the metamorphosis that a butterfly goes through. So we make some correlations to our spiritual life and then the healing process and the journey that he has us on. And so we love that. There are so many spiritual connections. God speaks to us through a megaphone, I believe, through his creation. He speaks through a megaphone, but we're not listening. So we'll take different aspects of, what we believe, God is communicating through his creation and incorporate that on our Great Exchange weekends. And that's just one of them. And then when we do the shorter weekends, we call that a Great Exchange 2, because originally our plan was, let's do a Great Exchange 1. And once people kind of go through that, they may come back a couple of times. Then let's offer them something else. It's a little shorter version, but it's deep and it's more topical, So we've done several different ones, but the ones we seem to keep revisiting are the ones that we believe are needed the most, just from interaction that we have with other women. So one of them is experiencing God's perfect love.
Mhm.
So we have to deal with the hindrances. We have to deal with the things that are preventing us from having that experience with God, you know, because that's what he's after. He wants our heart, and he wants to have that deep connection with us and an intimate relationship with us where, like the Apostle Paul says, that we pray without ceasing. And really, what that means is we're having conversational prayer with God all day long. I'm talking to God right now while I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
That's
you're
praying
listening to
without
him.
ceasing, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
so, experiencing God's perfect love. And then the other one that we've found over the years that many women struggle with is their value and their worth.
Mm.
And,
Mhm.
it's gotten worse over the years
Right.
because, I mean, think about it. Think about the messages in the world today. And so we are trying to counter those messages and help women understand who they are in Christ. Finding your identity, finding that not only, the whole thing about, you're enough, you're enough, you're enough. Well, actually, you're more than enough
Yeah.
in Christ.
Yes.
So we'll base that weekend on Psalm 139. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And then the question is, do you believe it?
Mhm.
And if you don't, why not?
Mhm.
So let's figure it out so that you can leave that weekend having confidence in that truth. You are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Awesome.
And you are perfect in every way because God has created you.
Yes.
And when he sees you, he sees the perfection of Christ.
Mhm.
That was a big one for me because I struggled with perfectionism
Mhm.
because I never heard, my dad never said, I love you, I'm proud of you. And some of that was his own upbringing. I have deep understanding about why my dad did a lot of the things that he did and a lot of things he didn't and should have and could have. But because of that pushed me into this realm of I have to perform
Mhm.
and perform well. Don't just perform, you have to perform well, like be perfect, or you're not going to be accepted. You
Mhm.
won't be loved. And I carried that into my spiritual walk with God. And so I know that I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Right. I've
And
been.
and so, right? So
Mhm.
that gets dealt with on our weekends. And there's a lot of things. So pretty much
Yeah.
those are the three, even though we have worked through some other topical weekends, and not to say that we won't have
Those
others.
are basically just for the women, and then you have a couples
Yes.
weekend, correct or no? And then a
Yes,
naked
and
fitness as well.
we
Okay.
just did a couples weekend in Michigan recently,
Okay.
and the feedback that we've received was phenomenal. In fact, they're like, when is the next one? We want to send people. So we recently added a date in October, so we'll have a marriage weekend in October, and we call those living and loving in a wholehearted relationship. Now, there's a lot of different material that that weekend is based on, but one of the books that I read many years ago is called A Wholehearted Marriage.
Mhm.
Um, but we took that a step further because what we want couples to experience on these weekends is also the opportunity to deal with their own stuff. See, it's not so much that the marriage is broken.
Mhm.
What I've discovered through all these years of doing relationship and marital counseling is we have two broken people trying to do marriage. We have two broken people trying to do a relationship, and it's not going to work until both of you do some individual work.
Mhm.
So even on our marriage weekend, you have opportunity to do some individual work and couples work.
Wonderful.
So that's why it says living and loving
Yeah.
in a wholehearted relationship.
Mhm.
And to live wholeheartedly, that means I have to be transparent
Uh-huh.
and I have to deal with my junk. You have to deal with your junk or you're not going to be able to live
Right.
wholeheartedly. So the marriage weekends, Love those. We do them
Sounds
in
wonderful.
Florida. Yeah, so Florida and Michigan. We don't have one set for Florida yet, but we do have the one set for October. Will be the next one in Michigan.
Awesome. And do you have any health conferences or anything like that?
Yes, we have one scheduled for June in Michigan, and then we have one scheduled here in Florida for July.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
remember how I said ministry has kind of evolved through our
Yes.
frustration? Well, the health piece,
Yes.
that came about after Mike and I got married about 16 years ago. We're coming up on our 16th anniversary.
You got
And
one
it's
minute or
also,
so.
yeah, okay. And the 16th
Give the vision.
anniversary. Yes. Got it. And so anyway, we have the Fit and Faith. We wrote a book together, and that's part of what we bring to the weekends, cooking the meals together, learning everything together, a little bit of mild exercise. But we're finding that, okay, we are 3-part bearing beings. We have got to deal with the whole person.
That's awesome. And I know you have a quick vision about having some property and having a really quick, if you can give just
Okay, real quick. Okay,
ahead.
real quick. We are doing a collaborative effort with people down here in Southwest Florida, and we are excited to be able to launch what we're calling Aruka Ranch. Aruka, if you go back to the root word, and I believe it's Hebrew, and really what Aruka means is coming into wholeness, body, soul, and spirit. It is about transformation. So people can come and stay 3 months, 6 months to a year. There's going to be community living. We'll take a holistic approach to helping people. There'll be some natural modalities that are going to be incorporated for brain health, organic farming. We'll have, small animals, and then community living while they're getting counseling and coaching. And then we hope to have a retreat center on the property. So that the retreats that we're doing down here, we can do them all right there on the property. So we're excited.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. And so Lillian, I know we have to wrap up our time. So how can they get a hold of you? Because I know you're in Michigan. Well, you're based in Florida, but you do come to Michigan. But where can they find out any information about you?
Okay, I would encourage people to log onto our website. So lifecarechristiancenter.org, lifecarechristiancenter.org. They can certainly reach us through email, which is also on the website, or just info.lifecarecc@gmail.com, or our phone number, Michigan number 734-629-3551. You can text or call that number anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lillian, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure, and I encourage everyone to check out their ministry. And don't forget that you are a beautiful creation in Christ Jesus. Thanks for joining us today.